everybody. This is not the Nissan, but
it's a better vehicle.
This is a RAV4 that we picked up about a month ago.
For me.
Yeah, this is the boss's car, otherwise known as, let's see, how did I put it? She's in the credits as the long-suffering wife, aka the director. Yes, that was it.
Oh, was that it?
Yes.
I like that.
So, this is pretty nice. I'm not a huge Toyota fan, but this is second RAV. So the other one's over there. That was the first RAV. That's a 2005 that my children are going to be sharing driving duties with as soon as the DMV reopens and they can finish their driving test. So this is a 2012, and the reason that you'd think it would be a little crazy maybe to buy a vehicle that's already 8 years old, but we did have reasons. We didn't like the styling of the model that came after this, and we weren't a huge fan of its size either. Every generation they keep getting bigger and bigger, so we decided that we really like this one best. And this model ran from 2006 until 2012, so this is a 12, and it only had 51,000 something or other miles when we first purchased it, which seemed like a very good deal, so we went ahead and grabbed it. This is a limited. It's all-wheel drive. It has a locking center differential, standard 4-cylinder engine. We decided not to go with the 6.
Heated seats, that's what really matters.
More horsepower is nice, but the 6 had pretty crappy fuel economy, and honestly this thing moves along pretty well for its size and weight, so we decided the 4 was fine. And the director is telling me that I need to mention heated seats, which is kind of funny.
Don't touch your face.
2005 did not have heated seats, and when she rode in my Chevy Cruze RS, which had heated seats, she decided that after that I was never permitted to ever bring a vehicle home again unless it was just borrowed that did not have a heated seat option. So the Frontier has 2-level heated seats, high and low. This one only has 1 level, which is kind of weird. I figured being a limited that they would have given you some kind of an option as to medium heat or high heat, but this one only has 1. My Cruze had a 3-level seat, so I guess it just depends on what manufacturer. But anyway, I decided that I really like this vehicle, except it has a lot of noise coming from the rear area, which is common for hatchbacks and cargo type vehicles, because you just have a giant flat pane of steel underneath, and then under that is just the rear suspension. So there's a lot of empty airspace back there to echo a nice little cavern there to transmit any road noise. So I decided that I have some extra, well, I'd say it's not Deadener, it's called Siless, but it does basically the same stuff. It's a asphaltic glue material that dampens noise. So I'm going to go ahead and put some layers of Siless in here and see if I can quiet it down a little bit. So that's the project for today. Alright, hey everybody, we're back. So I'm putting a couple layers of sound deadening back here on this sheet metal behind the rear seats. This is just an asphaltic sound absorbing material. Very similar to Dynamat. As I was saying, they're pretty much the world leader, as far as I'm aware of, in manufacture this material, and I'm sure that there's a good reason for that. I've used Dynamat before, the actual branded stuff. I had a 1983 Camaro that I spent way too much time and way too much money upgrading the audio system. It was pretty involved. Had a cassette head unit with a flip down face, which was also removable. CD changer was mounted in the rear under a custom shelf that I built with a second battery, 3 amplifiers, a custom crossover and EQ system that I had installed, and 14 speakers. So it was fairly elaborate for the time, before digital signal processing was widely available at a reasonable price. Everything was analog back then, so I had a pretty elaborate system, and it really did sound quite good. But as I had mentioned, it was a pretty pricey piece of work, and I enjoyed it for the time that I had it. Eventually, of course, like every car, I ended up selling it. And but what I learned from that project was very helpful in everything that I did going forward. And so this is, I guess you could say, partially an offshoot of what I learned in that project. That not only are good speakers and good audio equipment important, but also a quiet vehicle makes a massive difference in the perceived sound quality of any stereo system, regardless of how much you actually spend on your components. If your car is really noisy, you pretty much wasted your time and money on that fancy install, because it's still not going to sound very good. So when you can make a large difference just by quieting a vehicle, it's actually the same as having a larger amplifier basically for free. You can reduce your noise floor, quality of your sound improves immediately. Which is a trick that all the professional installers and people that compete in sound quality categories know, but not so much probably with the general public as much, that they think that an audio upgrade is going to make such a big difference. And yes, it can. Changing the acoustics of the vehicle can also make that money you've already spent on audio upgrades really, really worthwhile. It can make a decent system turn into a stellar system. So, even though this still has a stock factory audio system, when I first rode in this, I was impressed with the ride quality and the power and all of that. It's a very nice vehicle. I did notice there was an awful lot of rumble coming from the rear. And since I had already purchased this box of sound deadening that I was going to use for one of the Frontier projects, I said, hey, it's already paid for. Let me get out here and lay some of this down. So that's what we're doing today. Okay, everybody, we're back. Hopefully the lighting is decent here, and you can see this. I've got the rear tub all covered with Siless, and ran that up around here to the, whatever this is called, the reinforcing bar in the rear of the truck's monocoque of the unibody, where the rear suspension mounting points are. So you can see that there's a hat channel of steel here, and then back here is where the rear seats lay in, and this area is actually where the jack and things of that nature go. Typically this would be a spare tire well, but the RAV has its spare tire mounted on the outside. When I applied this material to my Pontiac Grand Prix, which has Flowmaster 40 twin mufflers on it. Flowmasters are nice for building a little bit of horsepower, but they do tend, especially the 40 series, because it's only a 2-chamber muffler, they tend to have a lot of drone. And at highway speed, that car was rather uncomfortable. It was quite loud. Nice, I guess, if you like the muscle car noise, but after a couple hours on the road, it tends to get a little, yeah, it tends to give you a headache from time to time. So I had put 4 layers of this material on the flat area in the spare tire well, and then between 2 and 3 layers worked up in random layers around the perimeter and over the rear floor, and that made a huge difference in cutting down a lot of that exhaust grumble. So I'm hoping that we're going to notice some difference here with the suspension and exhaust rumble, and we'll see how that works out. So like I was saying, this is basically an asphaltic type of material. It's rubberized. It has a very strong glue pre-applied by the factory. On the rear, you just peel off the protective sheet and then just put it down like a giant piece of tape. It is important to make sure that it's adhered directly to the steel. You want to get one of these. Some of the kits come with them, some of them don't. This is hardwood. I think it's oak or maple, a little roller. And it's important that this is actually directly and solidly adhered to the sheet metal, because what you're doing here is not really so much absorbing noise, which you use more of a foamy type material for that. This is actually changing the resonant frequency of the steel by applying mass to it. Anything that's heavier is going to have a lower resonant frequency, so you're trying to take the tympanium type thing, which is happening with the sheet metal flexing and making a lot of noise, which is then transmitted directly up into the cabin, and we're trying to turn that into more of a dull, more easily absorbed sound. And so that's the purpose of this. So you can see where I ran the roller along here, and you can see that there are indentations, of course, in the factory floor where they did not use a flat panel at all. They have a lot of things that are punched. Some of them are because of components that need to have space, but a lot of those punchings are simply for strength, because a straight flat panel of metal bends quite easily. So they put all of these ridges and hat channels to provide extra strength and rigidity in areas required. So that's basically it, I think, for this video. I'm going to go ahead and take it out for a test drive after everything's reassembled, and we'll see how the sound is, if it was actually effective, or whether I ended up wasting my time. I'm a little curious. We'll see how it goes. Given the difference that it made in the Frontier's doors, I'm expecting that this should be definitely effective to a degree. The question is just how much of a degree will that be. Until next time, FG signing off.